Hopefully they stay classy. All right, what's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another video this week on the Conscious Approach channel. Appreciate everybody for supporting. If you like the videos, definitely be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all that good stuff. So we are going to talk about we're going to talk real quick about Ja Morant. So for anyone who is unaware, Ja Morant, who's a rising star in the NBA, recently was on a podcast in which he was asked how he felt about Michael Jordan, and he basically was paying homage to Jordan, saying that he would have loved to have played against him. However, what's kind of making news in terms of that interview was when he said that he would cook Michael Jordan. Now, obviously, this gets a lot of people in a tizzy. You have a lot of Michael Jordan fanatics out there who refuse to entertain the notion that anybody would be able to compete with Michael Jordan on any level, whether that's beating him in a one-on-one, having a better career than him, being a greater overall player than him, so on and so forth. I tend to lean on that side. However, I'm not as fanatical as some others who just refuse to even entertain the idea that someone could possibly even be in his cipher. But you would imagine that it's even crazier for someone who is so early in his career as Ja Morant to express such sentiments. So he was on his podcast, and he said that he would cook Michael Jordan. And, predictably, people went crazy. So we'll just talk about this real quick after we see how Ja Morant delivered this message.
But if you could have talked about Jordan in that moment, what would you have said?
Thank you. I feel like he, the reason a lot of people, want to play the game of basketball, to even, be there with them is, something I didn't see myself doing, as a kid, but having the opportunity to be there, talk to him, introduce myself, and, just have that conversation with him. I don't know what I would have said, but yeah. I wish I played in his generation.
Yeah. You wish you would have played in his generation.
Yeah.
Why?
I heard he was like just how he, go about the game, just that mindset he had.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to play against him. So.
Yeah. This time you're not saying I would cook to.
I would cook him too.
You would cook Michael Jordan?
Nobody got more confidence than 12.
That's what you're supposed to say. I get it.
You should. I'm never go and say nobody gonna beat him one-on-one any day.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is, what sport it is, soccer. Who the best player in soccer? We can
play. So, for the most part, he was being respectful, but people went kind of crazy a little bit. And part of this, let's be fair here. Part of this has to do with the fact that the media machine in the month of July is typically searching for content because, NFL training camp hasn't started yet. College football hasn't started yet. And the NBA draft ended like a few weeks ago. There's really not much going on in the world of sports, especially when we're in these off summers where there's no like USA basketball or no like Olympic basketball or something like that. So the content machine needs stuff to talk about. And so they pick up stuff like this. I think during the regular season or in the fall when football is fully going and all of that, this probably doesn't pick up as much traction. But be that as it may, it picked up a ton of traction because people just, went beside themselves because he said what he said. And, it started this whole age-old debate. People just seem to have this insatiable desire to talk about Jordan and who Jordan may or may not have been better than and eras and all of this kind of crazy stuff. So Ja said what he said. He said no one has more confidence than 12. I think it's a little weird when people refer to themselves in the third person, but it is what it is. So, obviously not getting too deep into it. What do you think about what Ja Morant said about, cooking Jordan if he played during his era?
I honestly feel so I agree with you in the sense that, the media or people in general, because the streets had a fun time with this as well. So I think that's an angle definitely when it comes to lack of things to talk about in the sports world. However, it's still Ja Morant, and Ja Morant is today's Allen Iverson, as far as I'm concerned. As far as what the youth is concerned, I'm not comparing skill level or none of that stuff. I just think that he's just a modern Ja Morant in the sense that he embodies the new generation of kids that are coming up, and he represents them in a way that they feel like, hey, he's one of us kind of deal. So he definitely has a cult following, and it's only growing. So I think him as a talent overall, I feel like he's extremely talented. I think he's awesome. I think he's buying into this stuff a little bit. That's a slippery slope. Hopefully he doesn't get lost in the sauce. But like you said, referring to yourself in third person, it is, for me, a little cause for concern there. For real, of getting lost in the sauce, because, like, what is that about? But in order for him to have the competitive edge that he needs, he feels as though he has to go there. And again, I don't mind that line of thinking. It's just that hopefully you leave enough breadcrumbs to get back to whoever you were before you decided to take that journey. And hopefully you don't get lost in that and refer to yourself as 12 or any other type of way. You know what I'm saying? But as far as when it comes down to the gameplay, Jordan would beat him because Jordan is crazier than him. And I think the thing is with Jordan and Kobe, LeBron's not crazy. Jordan was crazy, and Kobe wasn't as crazy as Jordan. And I think the reason why Jordan was so good at what he was doing is he was literally a sociopath on the basketball court, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so from everything that I've heard from all the Jordan stories, I really think that bro was he was just on another level in a sense of in his mental. And Ja would be so busy trying to show him up, and Jordan would be too busy trying to destroy him. So even with Ja's modern skill set, I still think Jordan would have schooled him. Cook, strong term. He would have got by him a couple times, but after the second time, Jordan would put an end to that, I feel. So what about you?
Yeah. I think you put it well. Jordan was sociopathic in a basketball sense.
Right.
I think the closest person that comes to that is Kobe, and I would agree that Kobe was not as sociopathic as Jordan, but Kobe was also famously sociopathic. But there was a difference between Jordan and Kobe in that Jordan really did care about making you feel small. Like Jordan really relished in destroying your ego, whereas Kobe just did whatever he could to beat you and left it on the basketball court. Jordan kind of took it personally, and it wasn't because other people came at him in a personal way. It was just the way that his brain was maniacal like that. Ja Morant isn't close to that. I don't think any player today is close to that because players today are too narcissistic to become that maniacal, and not all of it is their fault. I think when you are living in the 24/7 media, world, and you're living in a world where everyone has the ability to create their own narratives and platforms through social media, you can basically craft your own story, and you don't have to rely on newspapers and ESPN and Fox anymore. You can just tell it how you want. And because the media machine is so beholden to the individual athlete, especially NBA players. NBA players are probably the most front-facing individual sports stars. Football is the most popular overall sport, but in terms of individual athletes, NBA players are probably the most popular individuals. Because these, the media and sport and journalists and all of these other outlets are so beholden to the individual athletes, they don't really get checked on a lot of the stuff that they say. Rather, they get praised for it. So Ja Morant can come out and say, I'll cook Michael Jordan, and the media will actually entertain whether he'll cook Michael Jordan. When in reality, I don't think it's even close. Like, Ja Morant's like 6'3", 6'4". He's really athletic. But Jordan was 6'6", with like a 7-foot plus wingspan, more athletic than Ja Morant, in my opinion, and had more of a well-rounded overall game, even at the same stage. So Ja Morant is in what, year 2, year 3, whatever Ja Morant is.
Yeah, 3.
Like Jordan in year 2 was averaging 37 a game. So like, even if you compare their relative stages in their careers, Ja Morant's not cooking Michael Jordan. I actually think it's the other way around. And I think the further removed we get from Jordan's physical prime, I think the more we tend, especially with the youthful society, to kind of forget how disgusting Jordan was. And I'm not like, I do personally, full disclosure, personally, I do think Michael Jordan is the greatest player ever, but I'm also not fanatical. So if you wanted to say somebody else is better, I'm not going to lose sleep like a lot of other people. But at the same time, a spade is a spade. Jordan was insane, and Ja Morant's not cooking Jordan. But this is new media, and new media basically, attention is currency. So the idea is say whatever salacious, outlandish stuff that you can say so that you can get talked about on social media and on Get Up and First Take and Undisputed, because in this day and age, all publicity is good publicity, especially when it comes to sports, unless you're dealing with something crazy like what Deshaun Watson is going through. So, this is the new media world. Say crazy stuff, get airplay, and, let the chips fall where they may. No one's going to, Ja Morant's not going to take hits for this, but cooking Jordan, that's a bit crazy. Like that's going a bit too far. I do think that he's feeding into his own narcissism, but I don't know how you can avoid in this day and age developing that sense about yourself when, all you have to do is just have a few highlight plays and average, 25 plus for a week. And First Take is going to talk about how you're a top 3 MVP candidate. So, this is kind of the way this stuff works now. So, when you're in that echo chamber, as I like to say, and you hear that about yourself enough, sure, you feel comfortable enough to get on a podcast and say that you'll cook Jordan. But trust me, Ja Morant's not cooking Jordan. Jordan's cooking Ja Morant. And I don't even think it's close, quite frankly.
It's not, and it's just not. And there were, and this is no knock on Ja. I think he's a talented cat, and I think his best is yet to come. So, but when it comes to like tier 2 athletes, back when Jordan was playing, would cook Ja Morant. Sorry. And I I don't care, bro. Like Clyde Drexler would have went to work on that guy. Clyde would have gave him problems. There's so many guys. I can go down a list of guys that were really,
even guys like Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was about the same height. If you believe the listed heights, they're about the same height. But Charles Barkley was way wider, and he could score from anywhere on the court, and he was a better defender and rebounder. So, yeah, the whole cooking thing, people just need to kind of calm down. Well, people, I get it. I get the climate. I understand why this kind of stuff happens. But, yeah, the whole cooking thing is kind of outlandish.
It's a bit much.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, Drexler. It's a bunch of other guys that you can kind of throw in there, too. So, yeah. Cooking is
It's a strong word.
But either way, yeah, Ja Morant's best days are ahead of him. I think the media kind of runs a little wild with this stuff, though. Like the nature of this content machine and already wanting to call a guy a superstar and talk about how he should be an MVP candidate. His team went like 18-1 when he was hurt. How much of an MVP can you be when your team doesn't lose any games, even when you're not playing? And like in the playoffs, when they were playing against the Warriors and he went down, the next game they beat the Warriors by 50 in the playoffs. So but this is this soundbite stuff, and he's top 5 and MVP this and superstar that. I think real people who follow the sport just kind of get annoyed and tone deaf with stuff like that, which is what causes us to also get annoyed and tone deaf whenever people like him say stuff like that.
Yeah, very, very, very premature with all of his stuff. I mean, it's on the way, And the media is like overhyping how can you overhype somebody that's good, but they're doing it. Yeah. And now I think that also plays into him calling himself in the third person.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, I completely agree. All right, so next up,